and JinJiao, they'd get the advantage in the last game if they want to go back towards it, because we are still on 12-2. Caitlyn's still insanely strong, and honestly a pretty good answer towards the Jinx if you want to just, oh wow, yeah, I mean, you could just go with the Karma Caitlyn here, and I feel like you've got a super strong setup for IG in this bottom half.
And a lot of safety as well. You know, we generally see the Lux Caitlyn as a big one, but obviously the Lux has a lot less utility in terms of keeping herself alive, whereas I feel like you're trading the kill potential for that extra safety. It looks like IG, though, they want to maybe look towards that top side. Get the Jayce here for Zika. They're going to do just that and get maybe a LeBlanc here. So they're basically turning around and saying to LGD, you get one or the other. You do not get both. You get a favorable matchup top or a favorable matchup mid, and you have to choose which one you want.
But I mean, you've got options here. I mean, Fearness had that really good Akali game at the start of the year, and Camille can do quite well into that top side as well. We haven't seen Fearness play something like the Aurelia this split, but I'm pretty sure he has in the past as well. Maybe he just decided to go towards that, but I think it's kind of a call out from IG here saying, hey, look, you're not going to cover both your solo lanes as we've locked them in. So again, they're just going to kind of put Wink onto the back foot, but I don't think Wink cares too much here because you can still go towards something like the Ezreal will be relatively all right in the bot side. Talk about the Felio still being open, the Caitlyn still being open. Like, Wink has options. Whereas now, with Jay locking in the Vex in the mid lane, the counter pick for Yuekai, Zika gets to ban away things like the Akali, the Camille, these kind of things in that top side. Still maybe see Fearness go towards the Aurelia and like try to turn that back onto Zika, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what side of IG decide, but LGD, you imagine they'll start banning away any carries, get rid of the Aphelios, maybe get rid of that. I feel like that's a none ban. I'll have to triple check that with the laughs coming in. I feel like that is a none ban. So for LGD, they miss an opportunity here, and especially at these levels, these tiny little mistakes, they're really not needed to help you out. And jungle bans coming in here for IG, they're going to be able to try and just keep, you know, this shadow pick very limited, as the Yuumi is the final ban to come out from LGD.
Actually interesting, because I feel like the jungle pick isn't as strong here as like trying to get the good pick for Zika in the top lane, but either way, I mean, you're still going to be looking to see what the Fearness has in his back pocket. There's plenty of options that he has available to try and go for. So maybe IG decide to ban away the top laner here, but just going to go towards the Lee Sin. So for Shadow, I think you're back over on Volibear duty. I think it actually works relatively well with the Vex setup. You can go for this dive. And Fearness, the Jayce has kind of been sorry, not the Jayce, the Jayce has been a counter to the Gnar, so I'd be surprised to see the Gnar coming through for Fearness, but maybe you end up going towards something a little bit funky in this this rotation here. But Viego just going to be the pick for Shadow. Yeah,
they're saying we're happy to go for it. And this could be a Senna set maybe angle, or maybe even a set Senna Karma. So they're going for that, you know, very long range, very much going to be a farming Karma with a Senna support until the later stage of the game, but they're happy to let the solo lanes do the solo lanes. They're saying, look, bot lane doesn't have to be a carry. We can just sit back, relax, and then keep you guys topped up.
Yeah, and again, we're on 12-2, so Senna hasn't hit those nerfs. She still gets, you know, the 10% chance if she wants to farm on souls dropping. So you could see Wink just go for the farming Senna instead, and then, like, Lucas just plays your regular support. Or you could see the farming Karma. Either way, like, with the heals and shields that these two provide, it becomes really difficult to take down IG, especially as Shun is able to become that mega tank at the front line. He's just going to be so hard to take down, but Fearness going to opt over in towards the Malphite against Zika, so getting a nice counter matchup for himself, and now it feels like LGD have the tools to play around these solo laners of IG. You've got the all-in potential to set up for Shadow on this Viego on that top side. Jay has the counter pick in the mid lane against the LeBlanc as well, and now you've got that mega scaler in the back line in the Jinx as well, who's got the Tahm Kench to keep her safe, so she can go for like a Kraken Slayer build and still be totally fine in these team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to say, much better drafting coming out here from LGD. They've got a counter top, counter mid. They've got pretty solid scaling and safety in the bot side. It is very much looking like this was IG saying, look, we know we're just better. We are a better team. We are better set up and just better at playing the game. So this is IG throwing down the gauntlet just a little bit, saying it doesn't matter if we give you all the counter picks in the world, we should still be able to carry. I will say IG did get a very proactive jungle with the Hecarim. Shun on something that can make moves early could be crucial if IG want to make this a 2-0.
And it's going to have to be a very quick and fast early game if you want to make that happen, because just the scaling potential that you have on the side here for LGD, plus the fact that you've got pretty good lanes in the solo lanes is going to make this relatively hard for IG. Need to see what Shun can achieve, as you said, on this Hecarim to try and get that ball rolling early.
Well, LGD, it's just to keep your season relatively alive. Otherwise, after this, you are on life support for Invictus Gaming. It's all about getting as high on the standings as you possibly can. We are well past the halfway point. Games are starting to become few and far between, and those wins are becoming oh so important. We are on to the Rift for Game 2 of this best of 3. IG with a 1-0 advantage. We will see just a very bog standard setup here. Defensive setup, as I say that, though. You have to be very careful. Yuekai does not have himself... Shun thought about going a little bit further. But I was going to say, if Yuekai goes a little bit too far forward, without having himself the distortion, he would have been in a lot of trouble trying to get an early deep ward.
So instead, they will just back away. Shadow is going to start up on this top side. Same when you look towards Shun. I don't think Shun's under much pressure from trying to be like invaded in these early stages, just because Zika will have push on that top side, and at least with Carmen, that bottom lane for Lucas, he can get shoved on sides as well. So Shun should be able to farm up relatively easily, get towards level 5, level 6, and try and look for some of these ganks with the ghosts.
Talk about the early pathing as well. We can obviously keep an eye on it. But I think a lot of pressure in this game does land onto Jay and Fearness to get that big engage off of. You talk about the unstoppable force and, of course, the shadow surge coming in here as well. But not only do you need the engage, you need Eric to be able to get into position. Yes, it's all well and good if he survives, but if he's not able to put himself into a position where he's doing the DPS, he's getting those auto attacks off, it becomes a bit null and void to have these big engage carries on the side of LGD.
I mean, this is very much a look. We're all setting up for Eric. The dive should be really strong from Fearness, and I don't think it should play too much of a problem, right? The only person who's realistically going to be able to escape easily enough from these engages is Yuekai. Everyone else is really flash reliant, or else ulti reliant in Shun's case, and trying to escape that. So I feel like in the early stages, we'll probably see Shadow make some sort of gank up towards the top side. Just see if it's possible for him to burn a flash from Zika and then repeat gank that at level 6, so then he can try and set up. But Wink
is not caught out just yet, but they will force the flash out of the Tahm Kench because he hasn't got himself some great health. He's going to be in a lot of trouble if this kill goes over to Lucas. He's still healing up, though. One more Q would do it. He's staying alive, and they weren't focusing on Eric. They will trade it back, but Eric wins this fight all day, every day. Shadow's even there to stop the jungler from coming in. Double kill going over to Eric. Perfect for LGD.
Bone plating MVP for JinJiao there. Halfway through that engagement, right as the Tahm Kench was low, bone plating comes back in. It means that they actually can't finish off the TK. Now Shadow trying to force Shun away. We just said, look, chances are Shun is going to be alright. Won't have to worry about these invades. But if your bot lane is dying 2v2, you're definitely going to see some play coming through from Shadow. And I want to, when we get into the replay, just keep your eyes on JinJiao. Right as he gets within like just a handful of auto attack range of dying, that bone plating comes in, negates all that auto attack damage from Lucas, and that's what baits IG that little bit too far forward. So this was 100% JinJiao thinking he had a good play, but the overextension comes through. You got the double lockup. Now watch here. So there's the bone plating coming in. So 1, 2, 3 autos, all kind of tanked up by that, and it's just enough to keep JinJiao alive long enough. The Wink has to overextend, and Eric can pick up the 2 kills.
Look, I understand why you go for this play onto the Tahm Kench. You push him back, you say, look, you're dead, there's nothing you can do, but you can't just ignore a Jinx. And now a 2-item Jinx with those Berserker Greaves being picked up is going to be very, very potent to try and deal with as the later this game goes on. And even in the early stages, you can already see Shadow saying, look, I know where I need to be. I know where my priority is. It is in this bot side. It is still IG with a advantage, as we can see now. JinJiao going very far forward here. Not quite sure that's what he really wants to do, and you're still only level 2, mate.
Yeah, a bit of an over-aggression there from JinJiao. Thinking he could maybe catch Wink, who didn't have the flash, but not quite able to connect with the Abyssal Dive. And now Shadow kind of wasting time on this bot lane. Zika still having a good time in this top lane. It looks like he's low health, but no mana left on Fearness, so no more poke. So Zika should be relatively alright to try and return the favor and see if he can get some deep orbs, because we are starting to approach, you know, that moment where Fearness is going to hit that level 6. Shadow is going to be able to come up here, and Zika has to start playing insanely safe. So you can see Shun trying to get in here, deal with the chickens, but also get some vision down just to spot out where Shadow's going to be. so Zika won't struggle when Fearness hits that level 6, but Fearness actually doing a really good job of stopping the back, saving his mana as well. He'll hit 6 off of this next wave that's coming in, and maybe you just look for the all-in just super early.
Yeah, maybe you do. Shun going to find Shadow, and I gotta say, Shadow doing very well at just keeping Shun on tabs. And oh, they're going to commit to him fully. They're going to get over the wall. Shadow has to flash away. So Yuekai, good use of himself getting out of the lane, but it does end up being a flash-for-flash trade.
Yeah, and Yuekai, even being able to reset now, he'll TP into lane, so won't lose out too much on the CS. So nice timing there from Yuekai. And this is what we talk about a lot of the times, is that Yuekai may not always have the best of time in lane, but very good at finding these windows to actually get out and influence the map. And you can see there, making sure that Zika doesn't fall prey to the level 6 that Fearness has just hit. The play that LGD were setting up for in that top side. And it's kind of these silent moves that don't really look like they net too much for IG, but are actually really substantial in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, Wink just about sidesteps there from the Abyssal Voyage, and we'll get a nice little bit of trade back there onto JinJiao. And of course, you got to be relevant. You got to be careful with the irrelevancy of the auto attacks from Wink. You will get a perpetually scaling attack range on that, as the dragon has been started here by LGD. Don't really expect Shun to be able to do much about that. Bot lane did resets, they're a little bit late to the party, and they've got some other things to do. That being said, that they may look to try and get a fight after the fact as the dragon does go down. Should be pretty easy for LGD to get out. So again, much stronger start here from LGD, keeping themselves in tow, getting that early objective so they don't have the dragon stacking against them.
And it's IG that we said need to get ahead. So the fact that LGD are actually the ones winning out, relatively speaking, in the early stages, is actually a pretty big win for them. Like, Fearness, you know, is going to fall behind in CS, and I mean, Shadow's been trying to help out his lanes quite a bit, so he's also behind, which is why you see that slight gold lead in favor of IG. But when you get to like the mid-game team fights where you're 2.5, 3 items completed, LGD should be able to take them pretty damn easily, especially if LGD are able to catch a few people out with like Fearness's ult, or Jay getting a good fear off as well. So honestly, right now, I mean, this is looking pretty good for LGD.
Yeah, and you can see there the poke from this Karma and Senna not really doing a lot here. You've got the stacks from the Relic Shield. You have, of course, got the Guardian as well, as we now see maybe Fearness in a little bit of trouble. He's not going to be run down, though, by the big old pony. As you try and go in with an onslaught of shadows, he pops his unstoppable force, and you don't really lose a lot off it. Jay, though, without mana, taking a lot of health off of the against Yuekai, and now he needs to be a little bit careful because the Hecarim is around. Does have Shadow for a little bit of protection, but this is starting to get a little bit testy now. You can see IG getting restless, looking to try and make something happen, and LGD, they're holding for now, but how long will that last?
Yeah, again, it's trying to wrestle control of this top side. They would have loved to get a kill onto Fearness so they could turn that into Rift Herald, but now that they've managed to keep Jay in the mid lane with no mana, they're feeling good going for this Rift Herald start. Shadow does need to be careful as Yuekai poking.
Yuekai is poking, but Yuekai himself does have to respect the fact that there is a Viego and a Vex, the double Vs in the mid lane, as this Rift Herald has been started. Should be easily secured now as the Smite is actually only about 450. I thought I was looking at it there at 900, but no, the rest of LGD are here, but a little bit too late. And honestly, this is a little bit of the problem we've seen with LGD throughout the split, is that they'll commit to a call, but it's always just, you know, a little bit too late. They're waiting for something to happen, and sadly for them, it means that they rotate their bot lane up, they gain nothing for it, and now Fearness is in a little bit of trouble, and the rest of IG are going to maybe look for him. The Unstoppable Force has to be used. The Onslaught of Shadow should be there as he goes straight in on top of him with a flash away. Fearness keeps himself alive, but that's 2 big cooldowns now for the Malphite.
And that's such a big win for Zika. Like, he has his flash up, so could have avoided some sort of engage from Fearness, but taking more time away from Fearness, potentially being able to set up this play is massive. And LGD rotated their entire team up to that Rift Herald fight, so while all the shenanigans were going on at the Rift Herald, Lucas was just farming away in the bot side, pushing in, got a plate for himself. So again, IG just winning out on the map state, although as I say that Zika now...
Yeah, he knows that something was up. He is going to flash away and not get caught out just yet. He's going to turn on to Fearness. He knows he's dead to rights. If he doesn't get a kill back off on top of this, he should be able to get himself another solo kill, maybe even a second. Shadow needs to be very careful. Shadow has the Heartbreaker, though, to bring him down. So similar to game 1, we do see a 2v1 being traded back 1-for-1 for IG and LGD.
Yeah, Fearness just going that bit too far forward, trying to see if he could help out, but honestly, I think you just let Shadow have that, although it was quite close in the grand scheme of things, so maybe not. But either way now, once more, 1-for-1 on the top side, and really just well orchestrated by Zika, right? Like, he's been trying to play super far forward, make sure that Fearness is keeping honest, but just understanding, hey, look, if I can go this way, Fearness takes the step too far forward here. He doesn't know where Shadow is, so this is a pretty big risk for Zika, because Shadow could have been walking around the same side as Fearness, but kind of takes the risk, knows that he's probably doomed either way, and manages to get a kill back for himself.
It could have been a lot worse as well. That right at the last second, Fearness got himself his little passive shield back, which of course gives him extra bit of armor, so he's able to survive that little bit more and soak up a little bit more of those auto attacks and abilities. So it could have been a lot worse there for Shadow, but luckily for him, LGD are able to trade that one back. It's a pretty much equal game in terms of that. 200 gold, nothing really too untoward to be talking about, as Wink and Lucas just going to be able to survive in this bot side. Now we start to look at Eric. Eric needs to be a little bit careful, as he's a little bit far away from his jungle and support. As we now see Jay going in, he does get the personal space going down. They're going to be able to lock up this Vex, but Shadow is there. The Shadow Surge comes in. They're going to try and follow him over. Yuekai goes down. Can they trade back the mid laners? Yes, they can, but that is a solo bolo for the mid lane. Jay finally finding some kind of movement and some kind of advantage here in that mid lane game.
Yeah, it's been very back and forth. Jay's been doing his damnedest to try and get himself set up. Now finally able to get the kill. Shun being a little bit frisky. Has his smite now to get himself the chickens and maybe look for round 2 against Jay in the mid lane.
Yeah, they're going to go for it. He knows there's no mist available here, and this is a Hecarim with double buffs, and there's nowhere for you to go. That's just a very, very easy capitalization there from Shun. Shadow not respecting the amount of damage that Hecarim could have.
Smart pathing from Shun. Like, just kind of going, oh, wait a second. Like, I have the timer on that top side so I can get the Raptors come back into the play. Now looking at the picture-in-picture. Looks like we're just getting that Tahm Kench going super far forward. Not quite able to get the kill, and once more, I mean, JinJiao will walk away, but he's playing very risky on this catfish.
He really is. Both supports losing out their flashes, but the Karma and the Tahm Kench losing that particular advantage. We will see the Rift Herald be spawning out very, very soon, so they're going to have to make a play with it, probably on the top, or excuse me, on the bot or the mid lane. Yuekai now trying to push around this Dragon Pit, make sure they gain some vision on that, and this is where this game starts to get a little bit frisky. It's now 1,000 gold here for IG. You've got the Turbo Chem Tank finished up, so a big item spike here for Shun, as the rest of the team basically just kind of working with half items. So right now it is advantage to IG. They're going to drop down the Rift Herald in mid and try and just secure this objective for themselves.
Yeah, especially because they know that Fearness is on the top side. Zika, though, has just TP to top. We aren't at the 14-minute mark, but you can see Fearness starting to roam down, could TP to a tower and fight this.
Shadow Surge goes in, as does the Super Mega Death Rocket. They almost got the kill onto Wink, but he flashed away just in time. The trap's doing very well to keep everyone away and buy time for Fearness. The big old rock is now finally here.
Dwayne Johnson's here.
Yeah, he is. Dwayne The Rock Johnson has finally come in, and honestly, this is a smart call from IG. They recognize they've already lost too much. They cannot contest this. Give up the dragon, gain the priority in top.
And that's the thing they're training for. Resources on towards Zika. Fearness had to move right the way down, so Zika is now able to get this top lane plates. The big thing, though, as actually Fearness does have ult, but I don't think he'll use it without Shadow in the area. But you haven't seen LGD really playing around Fearness. And the reason that this Malphite works as a counter pick is because you end up going, right, Shadow's going to play up there. I'm going to get you the guaranteed engage tool. And Shadow, you just take the kill. But twice we've seen Zika's flash burn, and twice we have not seen Shadow moving up to this top side. Zika's flash is going to be up momentarily, and now Shadow's back on the top side of the map, but you may not be able to get Zika as soon as that flash comes up.
You can already see now the advantage is kind of coming up right now. We can have a look at the bot lane, as Eric is going to be about 1,400 gold ahead of the Karma. There's even more if you look at the Senna, but we don't look at the Senna. That's not how it works. And it is only about a 1,200 gold in the top lane in favor of the Jayce, but this is the big difference. The Jayce needs a lot more resources than the Malphite. Malphite gets up to maybe 1-2 items, and his natural tankiness from his passive, and obviously the passive on his W as well, becomes relevant. As Shadow tries to go 1v1, they will get the Dawning Shadow coming over. That's a bit of a close one here for both the jungler and mid laner of LGD and IG respectfully, but LGD still being more proactive running around the map.
Yeah, no more burst left in the tank for Yuekai, so he backs away, but again, plays to the bottom side, means Zika is going to start pushing in this top lane, and Jayce is sitting, like, just shy, well, about 300 gold shy of where Eric is on this Jinx, and the long range that you're going to have from Jayce, these shock blasts are going to hurt, and if LGD end posturing and not quite able to find these engagements, you have a lot of poke from Zika and Yuekai that can end up being a game changer for some of these fights. So not only do LGD need to try and start playing like very quickly in establishing vision control at these objectives that are going to be coming up, they need to make sure that they're also on the same page to fight very fast.
Yeah, you can see there just using that Desolate Dive to try and make something work. Lucas having the Shurelya's Revelry, though, does keep him nicely topped up. You do have Shadow maybe looking for the engage here. They're going to try and run away. They do not land the root, but he used the Heartbreaker to get the slow. But here comes Yuekai. They have to use the Kench ultimate to keep their jungler alive, and now they're in full retreat. But this is a Senna and a Karma. They have so many ways of stopping you, but a nice Desolate Dive gets them all the way out there. So nicely done there by the side of LGD to get the tower and get themselves out while also fishing for a pick.
Yeah, 1-for-1 on towers, though, because Zika did get on the top side. Now trading for vision as Yuekai.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble there. The personal space is going to be used. A Shadow Surge, you can see what Yuekai wanted to do. He knew if he flashed or distorted out, he would have been followed up. So Jay, nice solo kill there over the mid laner of IG.
IG, though, using that time that Jay invested in the river, now going to get the mid lane turret. So not the best of trades. Yuekai would have liked to keep his life for that, but still IG getting some map play. You can start to see Jay, even with the personal space shield, taking a good chunk of damage off of Zika, and he hasn't even backed for the Mura mana yet, but you're going to see on the replay here, Yuekai just gets spotted coming into river. The fear sets up nicely for the rest of the damage to come through, and Jay's just able to burst him out.
Again, I don't really think there's much else Yuekai can do there. If he flashes or distorts, he's going to be followed over. He's just dead. He just gets caught in a bad rotation. Very unfortunate for him. But it is still advantage in terms of gold for IG. They've also got themselves a 2-tower-to-1 advantage, whereas LGD have themselves the dragons. Now, minute 30 until the next dragon spawns to take stock of where a couple of these players and a couple of these items are sitting on. You're starting to see first items being picked up for pretty much everyone across the board. You mentioned earlier the Jayce with that Eclipse and burning up towards that Manamune, or Muramana, I should say, is going to do a lot of damage. And across the board, both teams starting to ramp up in relative power. I think the big one we got to look at is that Kraken Slayer. Will the rapid fire be completed, though, for LGD just before that fight? I don't think it will.
See, though, IG are just trying to see if they can play sides, though. They don't really want to go. Oh, hang on already.
Flash over the wall means that Zika has nowhere to go. Jay recognizing that his CC is enough, and they had the information there. Shun saw the Viego going over, but there's just no way you can react to that in time.
Yeah, he had flash, but there was too many movement pieces in play, and it means that even if he flash, Shadow probably just follows up with a stun and he dies anyway. So I was about to say IG are trying to play off in sides and like avoid the team fight that's there, but now with 30 seconds left on the dragon, LGD start to get control over mid. They already have push and bot. They can establish vision control on this top side, sorry, on the bot side. And LGD have a very simple game plan then to allow Fearness access to these fights. You can see there's no pressure on the map for them, so IG maybe can look to try and take this mid lane turret, or sorry, take this mid lane wave and push it to the turret, but I don't think he'd be able to get it because Fearness can always just fall back and push you off again.
A couple of wards here for the side of LGD.
Oh,
they want to try to pull Fearness in the backside, but he is being peppered down below half, and he's already been taken out. They have to Tahm Kench ult him out. The Onslaught of Shadows is still available. They don't know that the dragon is done, or they do know it's down just about, but they cannot get into the pick. Good traps here from the side of LGD's Eric to keep them safe. Now you've used a lot of flashes and disengages here from LGD. IG, you are losing yourselves the dragons, but you need to make something else happen.
Big mistake from Fearness. Like, not just kind of backing away and, like, buying space. He has flash, he has chem tank, he can always get back into the fights, but now giving positional advantage towards IG mid, and they will just get this mid lane turret because Fearness ends up taking a lot of the resource that LGD need. Although, as I say that,
here we go. The Shadow Surge comes in. Great flash, though, from Wink. Right as it comes in, he gets himself out, so he's feared away. They will get some decent poke out, but Fearness is not to be outdone just yet. Lucas gets jumped on and gets killed off. Nothing he can do. They will get themselves some resets here for the Viegos. Now, JinJiao in a little bit of trouble. As I say that, Yuekai has to back himself away, and they use the Onslaught of Shadows defensively. LGD, they know they're at a 5v4 advantage. They want to try and push this issue even more.
yeah, Shadow now playing off to the side, looking to see if he can get in behind. Zik and Wink are completely separated, so mid lane should fall to LGD, if not more. Yuekai trying to see if he can get the poke. Will not be able to get enough, though. And LGD will manage to take this tower. They'll reset, prevent the push on top side on towards the tier 2, and this is how you take over as LGD. It's about finding these fights, and with Fearness committing that TP, they find the good flanks.
They find a very, very good flank, and this is, look at the replay here, is just an overcommitment to try and take this turret. You cannot disrespect the engage, and also just the teleport coming in from LGD means they know they can keep following.
Yeah, Fearness coming in off the side. Shun will spot him out, and they're just fishing for Shun or Lucas here. They don't really mind which. They just want to make sure they can get the kill, and Lucas is the unfortunate recipient of that award. Now IG back onto the map. They've got pushing to, top side. You're starting to see Zika get control of bottom. With their TP being up sooner for both Yuekai and Zika, maybe they could try and make some sort of play happen on side lanes, but again, you have to be so careful as Zika because there's just no map control for IG, and the second you overextend, you know Fearness is going to pull the trigger if Shadow shows up bottom.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. You have to just respect that and respect the fact that Shadow can just be on anywhere and everywhere as such. What we've seen now, Fearness, pretty damn tanky. As he's got himself the turbo chem tank. Is he going to be jumped on here? Yuekai maybe going to go for something there, but not quite comboing up with the knockback. They will just use this nice bit of harassment, though, to guarantee themselves the turret, get themselves back up in the ascendancy here. Now LGD, despite having the kill lead and the dragon lead, they are still behind in gold by about 1,000. They need to try and maybe look for a big old team fight where they can utilize the Shadow Surge and Unstoppable Force of their solo laners to the ultimate value.
I really think for IG, you're just not, you don't want to go near team fights. Like, there's just too much engaged from LGD. There's too many ways that they win. I honestly think your best bet here as IG to try and win this game out is actually by kind of doing what we just saw, like doubling up when a dragon is about to come up, maybe trying to look for the two double play on side lanes, but giving across Ocean Soul for LGD is really not what you want. It feels like, you know, the plays that IG can actually make are falling down, and Shun has had to commit ult to try and get away from LGD in the mid lane.
Yeah, you cannot get caught out there. I think Shun using his ultimate. It will be back up before this next dragon fight, but should LGD start posturing around this Baron, they take it very, very quickly. You've got a Jinx and a Viego. They would do a lot of damage to it very fast if they're not careful, so you have to respect that on the side of IG. You cannot let this one just go unnoticed.
They need to try and find a pick onto Eric somehow, and maybe like looking for these quick resets and looking to see if you can get vision control established in the river. Like, you have the problem is you've only got a single pink ward at the moment, and that's actually just placed by Wink. So you've only got one pink ward placed by Shun, so you don't have a huge amount of control over this river area, and certainly not enough for like Yuekai to try and play keep away on the back line. If you could pick off Eric, maybe you have enough of a chance to try and escape away from the dive tools that LGD have, like spread out, make sure that you're not able to all get caught out, but it still becomes insanely hard to do. So it feels like with, you know, the IG camp not really having the vision control to take over river, now they're caught again. And I mean to kind of be the stinker with this one, but a rock and a hard place where you can't really like fight into river because you don't have control of where Fearness is, and you can't really look to split push because it's an ocean side.
I mean, not only just that, but look at the level difference as well. Eric level 12 to Wink and Lucas level 10 and 11 respectively. You are not really in a position to overpower your opponent. This Karma with the Chemtech Putrefier is finally getting to a point of relevance, but you are very much a support. You're not the damage. We said about it in Champions Select. It's Zika and Yuekai who need to be the ones making this one work. It is an Ocean Soul in 10 seconds, but the wave has been cut off here by the side of IG. They'll give it up just for a second. Now Fearness is isolated. They jump on top of him to put down some damage, but I think he's already tanky enough that it doesn't really matter. Now we can see Shadow getting jumped on. Not quite getting much damage there, but now Eric needs to be very, very careful. That is a lot of damage. They're going to go straight down on top of this. They're going to force out the Devour and try and keep him alive. Shun has to use his smite to keep himself alive as a Super Mega Death Rock comes in. The Shadow Surge onto the back line as Fearness is the first one to fall. It's still a 5v4, but the health bars are very much in favor of LGD. That being said, though, it is going to be a lot of poke coming out here from this Jayce. They even have the Shroud to keep themselves unknown, not knowing exactly who is where and when. There we go. Flash forward. The personal face gets the fear down. They will trade back the Vex, and it's still a 3v4, but these health bars are not healthy enough, and Ocean Soul goes over to LGD.
And LGD played that fight so well. Everything on IG tried to be burnt on towards Eric, but JinJiao able to keep him safe. They don't have the damage to try and follow up, and LGD able to turn that one back. Ocean Soul now available in this game, which was already so hard for IG, got a hell of a lot harder. And here Shun does go for the engage on the Fearness. It looks weird, but it's about trying to battle for space here so he can actually have an access to the dragon. Ton of damage used by Eric, who very much missed positions, but you don't get to fully engage here. What you needed to do as Shun was play this much slower, continue using the fact that you have that poke, and just try to like whittle away at these health bars. But the second they full commit, LGD are able to jump on them and they turn that fight around. Also, shout out to Shadow. That engage on towards Wink was beautiful.
Yeah, that was a big moment there for LGD, and you can see IG, they played it well enough, but it wasn't quite there to get them to the damage. Yes, they took down Fearness, but Fearness isn't your target. Fearness is not the person you need to be killing off every single time in this fight. If he dies and no one else does, he's done his job. All he needs to do is get a good engage off and either force flashes or force disengage from the side of IG. But now, with you putting so much pressure on the Fearness in the bot side, this Dragon, or excuse me, this Baron could end up going down, and now Fearness is just soaking it up. He doesn't care.
Yeah, and IG didn't even realize that they'd moved over. Now, though, you have to be so careful. Double TP coming through. Fearness resetting to his own TP. Can we look for the steal?
Look at Jay, though. He knows exactly what he wants to try and do. They're going to have the TP coming in. There's the Shadow Surge coming out. They're going to try and jump straight onto Zika, but he doesn't quite get the damage he wants. Now, good disengage here from IG. The Shun does get himself a Honey Fruit to keep himself alive. Again, Ocean Soul available for LGD. They will be able to heal up these health bars in a long and extended fight. This poke isn't going to do as much as they probably want it to do, as Eric, not exactly the best of positions to be in, my friend. And now LGD need to be so careful. They've got mid lane pushing against them. They need to make a decision, Dagda.
Yeah, and they're not being given that opportunity. Yuekai is keeping them at basic, and now coming back as LGD.
There we go, flash in with the Unstoppable Force. They will find out the Karma, but that's a support Karma. You can still disengage here if you're IG, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They have not lost the Baron. They gained a mid lane tier 2. And it looks like they're going to be trying to fight for their lives. Shadow goes in with the Heartbreaker, trying to get the resets down, but he won't be able to get it, and he loses his life. Now Fearness is just trying to play as much as he possibly can in the front lines and keep Zika from his back lines. Yuekai gets himself over the wall, and Zika will end up falling down. Eric now getting excited. She'll jump onto the Shun as the pony canters away. Wink still very much healthy, but not exactly the big late-game Senna that you expect him to be. Yuekai out was playing with fire. Does end up backing away, but with both jungler and LGD dead, I don't think they can go for the Baron. Oh, unless they got the kill onto Shun, but even then it's still very risky.
Yeah, they know that Shun is going to be low, though, so they're just going to turn back towards this. IG, I don't think they're aware. Pings are going down, though. Looks like they're not entirely certain that this isn't a play that's been made.
It's a bait. They've got eyes on Shun. They know exactly where he is. There's the Shadow Surge. He's going to have to use his smite to try and keep himself alive. He's ignited, though, and he is dead. Yuekai off on the backside, though. They don't know exactly where he is, and now Wink needs to try and play keep away. We are going to see there's the Tahm Kench going in. The Shadow Surge does not land, but Wink is dead. Yuekai over the back end of this fight, maybe looking for something. He's going to have to try his very best to steal it, but with Shadow still in the vicinity, it's going to be a miracle steal at best. He's going to try and look for it. He does get the bouncy. No! Not quite able to get it. Doesn't quite have the double distortion. Baron goes over to LGD, and they are now firmly in control of this game.
Might even find Yuekai. Fearness has the ult, now starting to chase down, but will just back away, realizing that they want to make sure they're getting pressure on the map before this dragon spawns in 2 minutes. Make sure that they're getting access to these inner towers. And see here, shouldn't force to use that ult defensively. IG had spread out beautifully to make sure that they couldn't get caught out in several different directions, but the chase down just too much, and when Eric gets excited, he can just win these fights solo.
It's such a long, extended fight, but you can see the Ocean Soul just doing so much work. The poke that you're putting down with the Senna, the Karma, the Jayce, it's just not sticking as effectively as it would have, previously had the Soul not been picked up. So LGD very much getting themselves the best Drake they possibly could have thought of, considering the opposition that they're going up against.
And this is coming back to the problems that we saw from Wink and Lucas, where they lost out in the 2v2. It gave that easy access towards LGD to pick up the Dragons, to force these team fights, force some comfortable positions onto IG, and with double TPs burned on towards the Baron, now IG don't have the ability to try and play outside lanes. 1 minute until Dragon, full push in mid, push being gained in top. Vision control can be established pretty handily by LGD in the spot side jungle, and how do you try and contest this now as IG? Nobody's able to face check.
No one is able to face check. Yuekai will lose his Banshees, as now Fearness is the target for the side of IG. Good use of the ultimate there from LGD's top laner. Does keep himself safe and has no magic resistance to speak of, so Yuekai is pretty much going to be the sole person to try and take him down. Lucas left on his lonesome, though, in this mid lane, means that he's going to have to concede this one to the side of LGD, and honestly, I think that Fearness has done his job.
I mean, this could actually be the window for IG. Fearness got out, but I mean, you've got 30 seconds until Dragon. The ult won't be up, I believe, just in time at the start of Dragon, so maybe IG can battle for vision. Maybe they can sneak away the Elder, but they're going to have to do it so fast before Fearness's ult isn't up, or at least get the engage off before LGD have that Malphite ult available.
Yeah, they'll have about 30 seconds or so before that Malphite ult is available. Probably even a little bit less, maybe even 20. So I don't even think they're going to try and risk it. So Fearness will not lose anything off of that play, as we now see IG trying to maybe look something there. He will lose a lot of his health bar, though, as the Mega Death Rocket comes out. Doesn't really do a lot of damage, as Zika gets his accelerated shock blast between the sticks and gets himself 3 points for this country. And now LGD trying to posture back in towards this dragon. This is the end game buff. You did so well, LGD. You finally have a gold lead, but it does not mean squat if you cannot get this buff away from IG. IG have enough damage and enough survivability to make this a game-ending fight should they be able to pick up the Elder.
And IG all corralled into the one area. This is perfect for Fearness. No flash, but he can still look for it.
He's gonna go. There it is. There's the unstoppable force going in. They're going to the onslaught of shadows, though, onto 4 members. As you can see there, Yuekai trying his very best. Fearness is dead. The shadow surge all the way onto the backside. Jayce trying to play keep away with Yuekai as the mid laners go in. The flash in with the personal space means he gets the resets of the shadow surge, and now Jay can start to take over this fight. Him and Eric are going to be looking so good at the end of this one, all. And it's LGD taking that fight. They'll take the Elder. They'll take the game.
I mean, they have no wave in mid, so they're just going to look to take the Elder for the moment. But you can see once more IG trying their damnedest, but these team fights, they're just too easy from LGD's position. This is why, once more, we kind of brought up at the start of the day, top lane, there's some of these blind picks that you think are safe are really not safe, and LGD shutting down Zika with the Malphite, and Fearness has been so crucial in finding these engages for LGD and setting up Jay to take them over.
Should be LGD equaling out the series. They've got themselves the Elder for another 2 minutes. They should be able to TP back in. Yep, keep the minion alive. But as I say that, we might have IG having a last stand. They will have the unstoppable force now in about 2 seconds. There's not really a lot for Wink to do here, and Fearness finally getting up to his force of nature means that he is just an absolute monster on all fronts now. With Shun on the backside, though, LGD is starting to think about this one just a little bit more carefully, and they don't want to go for this one as Eric gets engaged upon. The onslaught of shadows doesn't finish its channel, and now with the shadow surge going over, Zika is dead. It's a double kill there for Jay as he gets himself some more resets. Not going to land it, but it does not matter. With the Elder Drake still going very, very strong, it should just be LGD getting themselves a win, putting themselves back in this series, and sending us to a game 3.
And this is exactly what I wanted to see from LGD. Being able to play out their draft very simple with counter pick for Fearness, the Malphite coming in on red 5, and now you're in a great spot where you can just go, cool, we can take these team fights, and we are already proved in game number 1 that our bot lane is just stronger than IG's bot lane, and it means that now we get the opportunity to set up off